And we are live. Welcome back, everybody, to Behind the ToolBelt, episode 277. I'm your host, Ty Cobb Backer. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition. And I don't have another special guest. You guys are stuck with me, but stay tuned, and we will be back after our short intro from our sponsors.
GC Backer, GC Backer. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. GC Backer, GC Backer.
Is your lead flow down? Whether you're a company owner, office staff, salesperson, or installer, you're a roofing rock star. We help you get more leads with custom SEO, Google Ads, and a pro website.
Welcome to Behind the ToolBelt, where the stories are bold, the conversations are real, and the insights come to you live, raw, and uncut. Every week, host Ty Cobb Backer sits down with game changers, trailblazers, and industry leaders who aren't afraid to tell it like it is. No filters, no scripts, just the truth. Please welcome your host of Behind the ToolBelt, Ty Cobb Backer.
Yes, sir. And we are back live and in the studio today. Thank you so much for joining us. It's honestly hard to believe that we have been doing this as long as we've been doing this. I mean, today is episode 277. I don't know if I've ever been so consistent at anything in my entire life. Maybe that's very, very untrue, but man, I don't know. I mean, other than my relationship, actually, I shouldn't say that, man. Hopefully Jana's not listening here yet. I have been very consistent, right? Like a consistent asshole or whatever, with Jana. And I've been very faithful is kind of where I think I was going with that there. But anyhow, thank you guys for joining us. And today's one of those episodes where we don't have a guest. Vic and I have been, testing and toying around with different things. And I think I'm digging, doing the solo podcast and stuff. I know Vic and I are getting very creative. I think we kind of hit like some fatigue or a plateau there for a second. And we wanted to just try to mix things up. For those of you that have been following us for a while, know that, we haven't had a guest on, about every other week or so. And I don't even know if we're going to have a guest on next week. And we're going to come up with some topics. And usually a lot of that stuff is going to pertain to like where I was, where I am now, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. A lot of this stuff is just, really where I'm at and some of the turmoils and trials and tribulations and victories and wins that I would just want to really get on here and experience with, or, share my experience with people. And I see my good friend John DeVille is on here. Thanks for joining us today, John. And thank you for the inspiration and always encouraging me in everything that we do. So thank you, John, for tuning in. And today, I got 3 topics that I'm going to try to touch on a little bit. And one of them is mindset. We talk about that a good bit, but I really want to unpack that a little bit and what that means to me today, right? It could mean something totally different to me next week, but where I'm at in my mental state, which is I'm in a good place. Decision fatigue And something that I've struggled with over the years too is like, how do I know that I'm working on the right thing, right? Am I wasting my time? Is this going to ever come to fruition? Should I be working on something else? And then next week, I think what I want to discuss next week is, talk about the high cost of not letting go soon enough, right? And that can take us down many different rabbit holes there, all in itself. But unpacking, the mindset, for me, shoo-wee, mindset is everything. I mean, everything. And I had a great conversation with a colleague of mine, a trusted colleague yesterday. And the funny thing that came about that conversation is that we were both going through the same season at the same exact time. And that's the funny thing, expressing or sharing with somebody that you can trust. It's ironic how similar we are to other people, and I think a lot of times we think we're different. Nobody understands. You haven't walked in my shoes. You haven't experienced. You didn't grow up the way that I did. Your childhood wasn't the same. Whatever, right? But what's crazy is if you can find a mentor, a coach, a friend, a family member, but somebody, it's got to be somebody that you can trust, right? That you can share things with. Not everybody you can share things with, but there are certain people you can share things with. And in this conversation I had yesterday, I was kind of expressing, where I was and what I'm coming out of right now. And Tony Robbins talks a lot about seasons, right? And I'm not as brilliant or bright as Tony is, but he's been an inspiration to me. I've listened to his stuff a lot over the years, actually. And I think it was him and Ed Milet. Ed, who was on Ed's show, and Ed interviewed him, and they were talking about different seasons that people go with. And you guys have heard me talk about, challenges and seasons and things like that. And I recently experienced a winter, and fortunately it was through the winter months that we're experiencing. And, I started to really unpack that and pull it apart and drill down in and see like where did it start, and what was I doing different? And it doesn't always have to be, a winter doesn't start, I don't think, in a week. I don't think it starts in a month. I don't even think it starts in like 3 months, but like it just doesn't happen. It gradually happens over time, and it doesn't necessarily have to be ignited by like a passing of a loved one, because Jan and I both went through a darker season, because winter is when things lie dormant. And if you think about the season, spring is where things are starting to wake up, and blooms are starting to blossom, and the grass is starting to get greener, and the leaves are growing on the trees and stuff like that. And then it's summer, right? Summer, things are thriving, things are going, things are banging. And then fall comes, right? And we need seasons in order for things to grow and replenish and refuel and recharge, and kill off insects over the winter months if we have a good winter. Just things that we need these seasons in our life and for growing, right? And I truly believe that. But like I was saying, I don't think it starts like one day I just wake up and I'm in a dark season, I'm in a winter. I think for me, trying to think about like unwind this a little bit, like when did I start kind of going off the rails? And it wasn't really anything in particular. It was like a series of events that have happened, that I started to kind of go down in this insecure. I started to let things bother me. I call it the snowball effect, right? Like, and what I mean by the snowball effect, not that a million snowballs were coming at me necessarily, but like, if you're standing on top of a hill and you pack a nice little snowball and stick it on the ground in the snow and you roll it down the hill, and by the time it gets to the bottom, it's this huge snowball that I feel like I got ran over by. And so I was having this conversation yesterday, and I don't want to get too intimate and too into the weeds on exactly what the conversation was about, but what it did was it weakened my courage. and my mindset was off, like where I was pulling back, I was pulling back, I was pulling back, and I was pulling back, I was pulling away from people, I was pulling away from individuals, places, I was pulling away, with things in business and in my personal life. And that's not me. I'm a driver. I'm a go-getter. I'm filled with confidence, and I understand what got us here won't keep us here. And I believe, I fully believe that. And that's built into my DNA. And this is probably the first time that I experienced like this pullback of certain people, places, things. And some of it had to happen, but I think I was pulling back way too much, and it was messing with my mindset, and the importance of a positive mindset, because you can have a negative mindset. And I started to fall into a negative place, where fear started to creep in, and insecurity started to creep in. And like I said, it happened. It was a slow snowball effect that took place, and there was a couple things that were eating away at me, and and I had to make some decisions, and some uncomfortable decisions. And that's why I wanted to talk about mindset, decision making, the procrastination, and not making a decision is making a decision. And so the importance of keeping a positive mindset, and how it will affect people, your loved ones, right? The positive and or negative, right? Like if I'm go, and I'm just a ray of sunshine as soon as I walk into the building, or am I doom and gloom, right? And I think we don't really pay attention to how much influence we have over other people's attitudes, right? And their feelings and their emotions. And until we actually see it in somebody else. But that wasn't the case for me. I think that's why it's taken so long for me to get my head out of my ass. And don't get me wrong, I'm going through the motions. I'm showing up, I'm suiting up, I'm there for my family, I'm there, for my team members, and things like that. I'm doing the best that I can, but it's like this grind, and I'm not enjoying myself. My mindset was off, and it was starting to affect me physically. Like it was draining my energy. I didn't feel like I could keep going and going and going and going. I'm still working out. I'm still trying to do these things. I'm reading my daily affirmations and my reflection books in the morning, and I'm still, connected, and but I wasn't really grounded. Right. There was no intentionality or purpose. It was more fear based. Like I was doing these things out of necessity and fear. Like, oh my God, if I don't go to work today, you know what I mean? Because I'm not one to stay home and hide under the covers. And my back started to hurt a lot. And again, I'm a procrastinator, and believe it or not, I'm also an introvert. And I definitely don't like to ask for help. Like, screw that. Like, screw going to the doctors and explaining to them. Psychologically, I'm screwed up and just don't feel well, which I haven't done that for a long time either. That's why I have good friends, because a doctor would probably lock me up if I shared half the shit that was going through my mind half the time. But my back has been hurting, and it's been hurting for a long time, to the point where it's like I didn't even realize it was hurting anymore, and causing physical pain. And so finally I got off my dead ass and I went to the chiropractor. And to come to find out, my pelvic was misplaced or dislocated, or some shit. And it, fortunately for me, I have a high tolerance for pain, emotionally and physically. So I visited this chiropractor who was recommended to me, because I haven't been to a chiropractor in about 5 years. And and I'm kind of used to being stiff and sore and stuff because of pressure and stress and things like that. My neck gets stiff. I get lumps in my back and knots and things like that, which, I don't usually take care of on a regular basis or anything like that. But when I do, eventually it feels so much better. And, but my hip and my back was getting to the point where I was either having trouble falling asleep, or it was waking me up. And my son Rocket recently got into golf, which allowed me to start playing golf again. And this was probably at the end of last season. And I noticed that it was affecting not just my golf game, because my golf game sucks anyhow, but it was a good excuse for my golf game to suck. But it was really affecting my sciatic nerve and my hip and my back. I almost felt like something was loose back there, and it was grinding together. And so I went, and he put me down. It turned out that my right leg was about an inch shorter than my left leg, and that my hip bone was hitting against, I think, my pelvic. I'm not a doctor, nor do I try to portray one on TV. But wherever the bones were hitting together, there's no cartilage there. Like, they're not supposed to be clicking together. And it was creating severe pain. And of course, I try not to bitch and cry and complain and moan. I just kind of suck it up and deal with it. Cause again, I can deal with this shit on my own. I don't need anybody's help. Not, but finally he put me down. He readjusted me, and I got to go back a couple times a week for the next probably a couple months, in order to get my hip to get the muscles and everything, because the muscles started to form, and your body kind of just gets used to that position. So now he wants it to get used to the position that it's supposed to be in. And I tried this new it's called Soft Wave, which immediately, as soon as he hit me with it, it's like this 3,335 mile per hour volts of something that's going into your joints, going into your muscle, going down to the bone, like instantaneous. Now, it hurt like hell, and he said it was supposed to hurt like hell, but that's good. So anywhere it hurt is where he waved this wand. And he said, and then he told me to get off the table, and he's like, "How do you feel?" And I had been in pain for so long, I was experiencing like phantom pain. Like, it took me about, I don't know, 60 seconds to realize that, like, shit, I don't think I'm not experiencing any pain. 5 years of this shit, or however many years it's been, at least 2 years that I've been experiencing. I think we pinpointed it because he asked me if I was in a car accident. I was like, no, but I did get my ass kicked on a football field a couple years ago at this retreat that I went to. And I wouldn't change a damn thing. I'd play just as hard today as I did that day when I got my ass kicked down there. And just for the record, for any of you that did see that video that my trusted friend John Stauffer posted, he created a reel that showed me getting my ass kicked about 3 or 4 times by a guy that was at least 100 pounds heavier than me. So that was unfair advantage. But point is that John was on my team, and we were the oldest guys at this retreat, mind you, and we kicked their freaking asses. We kicked their ass. So that's really all that matters, is that I got my ass kicked to kick their ass. So score wise, anyhow, so long story short, went there, did this, and I'm feeling better already. I've been there twice. I get to go tonight. And so it's just, you got to take care of yourself, right? As uncomfortable as it is to ask for help, as uncomfortable it is to go to the doctors, at least for me, I think they're quacks half the time, but there's certain things that, especially as we get older, or even not even being older, that we should just take care of our body. So anyhow, getting back to how, the wrong mindset, stress, all these things can affect your body in different ways, shapes, and forms. And I think with the season that I was going through, I think that was the point, was the season that I was going through was agitating and irritating my hip and back pain even more. So when the pain's great enough, I will get off my dead ass and do something about it. And the pain was great enough. So, and then obviously mindset will mess with you psychologically and mentally, right? Your mind is a powerful thing, and it will tell you things that aren't true. It will tell you that, things are a lot worse than they are. And that's kind of what was happening to me. And some of the ways, and I also want to describe, discuss some of the ways that I've been able to get through this, and where I was telling you before, where I was kind of backing off on things. And one of the biggest things that has helped me over the years that I started to back away from, one of the things was walking. I know as simple and as common as going for a walk outside, I recommend going for a walk outside. But if you can't, on a treadmill indoors, that's great. Both give you the same physical benefits, but I think walking outside, for me personally, helps me clear my mind. No book. Give yourself, a good 20 minutes of just silence with yourself, help you clear your mind, and breathing in, which is also good for your immune system, is breathing in the pollens and stuff. And that's kind of really the real reason I'm suggesting going for a walk, and not even always by yourself, like with your significant other, with your kids, a friend, whatever the case might be. And but spend some good quality, quiet time walking. And it's also, I find it a good time to listen to very intentional books on things that I'm studying, and but helping me decompress and get away and remove myself. And and they also say too, and I experience this, and I actually kind of watch the clock as I'm walking, is that they say, after 20 minutes of walking, your body starts to feel like this sense of euphoria, right? And I'm sure some people that might be out of shape or whatever like that are like, yeah, right, I might not be able to walk for 5 minutes, but maybe you should work up. One of your goals should be working up to, walking, 20 minutes. Don't necessarily worry about how far you get, but maybe go for a 10-minute walk, turn around, come back. But by the end of that 20 minutes, you should start feeling better mentally, physically. You start feeling this state of euphoria. Now, I typically walk 2 to 3 miles, and that's just, I can do it pretty quickly. About 20, little under 20 minutes a mile, which isn't like setting the world on fire or anything like that, but that's usually somewhere between 17 and 20 minutes. So I usually walk for about 45, 50 minutes at a clip. And I do that quite regularly, but again, it wasn't very intentional, right? Like I'm checking emails. I'm like literally walking, checking emails. I'm scrolling Facebook. I'm replying back to text messages because I don't want to waste that time. Like I got to get back. I got to respond. I got to do all these things, but no, put the phone down. If anything, listen to a book, a good book, whatever it is that you need to advance in, listen to that book or that podcast. But I think the biggest thing where I felt like I was stumbling, and I've been told this for many, many years, is like, when things are going wrong in my life, I should look to where I can help somebody. And simply just helping somebody. And I'm not talking about like loaning money to somebody, or, I'm talking about like really devoting and dedicating some time, your time, to helping somebody, whether you're lending their ear, your ear, rather, your ear to them, and not even necessarily giving advice, but just listening, right? Or helping somebody move. I mean, that's probably one of the hardest things for someone to ask help, right? Is moving furniture, packing things up, helping them. How many opportunities have we avoided from actually helping and devoting, dedicating our time and helping, because typically when we think we're going through something, and we're reaching out to other people to help them, right? And again, I'm not talking about like cash register, they call it cash register honesty, but I'm going to call this like cash register helping, right? I'm not talking about like giving a less fortunate person on the street $10 or $20. I'm talking about really devoting your time to, and it's been a minute since I've actually sat down and helped work through the steps with somebody, or found out where they were, because half the time I think my problems are so big, but by the time I listen to somebody else's problems, I'm like, whoa, like when I thought I had it bad. I'm gonna sneak a drink here real quick. But I got to get back to devoting my time, right, and energy, right, and whatever resources that are available to me, and pouring back into people. And I got to step that up. I'm not saying that like I totally stopped, but it was almost just kind of like autopilot, kind of unintentional, with very little purpose. And I'm not saying do this to expect a return either. I'm just saying when something's wrong with you, when there's something wrong, there's usually something wrong with you. And the best way to get out of you is to get into somebody else, and come to find out the issues that you're struggling with are minute compared to, other people's issues and stuff. So I'd strongly recommend, speaking of which, we're finally going to have our, community events committee meeting on Friday. We're getting back. We haven't done anything since swing into recovery. We had a call yesterday with Steven Spence. Big shout out to Steven Spence and everything that he's trying to do for roofers in recovery and stuff like that. So Steven, whatever you need from us, let us know. Obviously, you already know that because we speak on a regular basis, but the dates and location and stuff like that should be announced, I would imagine, in the next 3 to 4 weeks. I think we're thinking, early fall this year, not waiting as long as we did. We're going to be super intentional. So hopefully we can raise awareness for addiction, and all that good stuff. And we can get the support that we received this past year that we did, because that was absolutely freaking amazing. And then we got our food drive coming up at some point in time. That date will be announced. I think we're going to approach that a little bit differently. And again, these things require a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of resources, because obviously we can't just do anything on a small scale. We gotta be grandiose about it. But just because we have so many people that are willing to help. So what happens is that these events that we do are usually pretty big. So you'll be hearing a lot more about that. So I guess next topic, we'll try to dovetail into one of the symptoms that I was experiencing from having, like, I don't even want to call it a negative mindset, but just I'm going to chalk it up to a poor inferior mindset. It started to create decision fatigue, and started to second guess my decisions, because, a couple things didn't quite work out the way in that season that I was experiencing, that I was talking about earlier. A couple things didn't quite work out the way that I thought, should have worked out. And, and not making decisions, right? I touched on that earlier. I was like, I wasn't making any decisions. I was being very indecisive. I didn't have much clarity. And again, touching on how that affects other people, right? Like, especially here at work, like if I'm indecisive and not making decision, and I'm not very clear, and I'm hiding out in my office and things like that. Well, I can't even imagine what that's doing to my coworkers and my co-leaders if I'm not, unfortunately we built a great enough team, and the team has actually built themselves at this point in time. Things were going, but there was much more that I felt like I needed to be doing. And a lot of that's pouring into my team and that positive energy. Hence my signature at the end of my email that I stole from John Gordon. That's I'm the CEO. I'm the chief energy officer. I bring the heat. I bring the energy. Well, I didn't have any. I was depleted. I felt depleted. My energy, my body was sore. So I was suffering. I felt like I was suffering from decision fatigue. Like, I just can't think right now, and this is what's crazy. Like, some of the vitamins and stuff that I was taking, like, I actually had to stop, and supplements. Like, I had to stop taking some of this stuff too. Like, I couldn't figure out what exactly was going on. Cause sometimes it takes about 30, 60, 90 days for some of these, supplements and vitamins to really start taking effect. And my body and my system's a little weird like that. And I'm trying to find the fountain of youth. So I'm trying other things. And and some of that played into the season that I was experiencing. It was messing with my thinking, right? It was making me how I felt indecisive, and procrastinating. And one of the things that has helped me over the years is, obviously, with the amount of things and businesses that I'm involved with, obviously to-do list, right, is huge, right? But more importantly, that I found here more recently that I actually forgot about, was making a decide list. Things that I have to make decisions on, right? Make a list of them, get them out. And what I found is by getting them out of my head and putting them right on a sheet of paper, or in your notes on your iPad, or whatever device, electronical devices that we have today. I mean, I see some people using the Remarkable, which I was using my iPad. I went to the Remarkable. Great tool. But I went back over to my iPad, and I started to write down. I created my decide list. There was a lot of decisions that have to be made, because I'm a thinker, right? I'm constantly thinking, not just about today, but but I'm thinking about next week. I'm thinking about next month, next quarter. Here we are in the second quarter, right? And I started to beat myself up over decisions that I should have probably made in the fourth quarter of last year. There was just certain things. And again, I was slacking on my to-do list, and one of my goals for the past 2 New Year's was to remove shit off my plate and not keep adding stuff to my plate, because I've done that year over year over year, where it's like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to start doing that. But what about all this other shit that is eating away at me and all these other broken promises? Like, let's just stop making these promises to myself, right? And start removing things to actually give space, bandwidth to filter good, positive things, activities, people, places in my life. And like, I totally took a left turn. I don't know if it was January 2nd. I just started to I took a left turn, but I don't even know what the hell happened to me. So when I got it out of my head, all these decisions that I felt like needed to be made, I actually started to prioritize them. Okay, this can actually wait, because sometimes the best decision is not to make a decision. Don't make a move. Don't make a move. Don't touch a damn thing. Nothing's broke. Don't fix it. Right. So as I was able to get these out on this in my notes, my decide list, not my to-do list, but my decide list, which I actually stole that from Craig Rochelle. I don't know, like 2023. I started to write a decide list, and then picking and choosing times of day. When do I make the best decisions? Right? Is that 8 o'clock at night after I just got my ass kicked all day at work? Probably not. Is it when my kids need help with schoolwork? Probably not. Right? Like, so when do I make the best decisions? For me, I make the best decisions in the morning. Right? So now I know, right? Tuesdays and Thursdays is my decision making days, right? On certain things. I'm not saying that when people knock on my door and they have a question about something, it's like, nope, you got to come back at Thursday at 7 a.m. because that's the day I make my decisions. No, can't do that. Can't do it. As a leader, I need to be very decisive. But knowing myself, right? Personal development, personal mastery, right? Is knowing yourself. And when do I think the best? When do I retain the best? When do I function the best? When do I accomplish more things? What time of day can I really knock some shit out? Right. And for me, a lot of that time is in the morning, and the earlier, the better. The earlier, the better. Like this morning, I came up with these topics this morning, dude. I was just jamming. I was vibing. I got through my meditation. I did, man. And it was like, I almost like had to stop meditating this morning, because I was like, boom, 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 boom. Nope, get back over here. And it was like, you know what? I hurried up. I finished my meditation for the morning, and I just started jamming out. I got into, and I stopped beating myself up over what time I get to the office too. So I got here probably like 10 minutes to 7. Literal, does anybody know? I've been up since 4:50 this morning. Do you know what I mean? But I've been jamming since 5:15 this morning. You know what I mean? Like just rocking out in my head, because like I told you, I'm on the back side of this winter. Plus the weather helps. The weather finally is starting. The sun came out, the gray starting to lift and things like that. And the older I get, the more I realize too that I suffer from seasonal depression. Not, I don't necessarily suffer from depression, but getting back to the list, it frees up my brain space. It frees up my bandwidth, so I can make other decisions and stop worrying about it, because I'm a worry wart. And I touched on setting some time aside, pick and choose what days, on these major decisions, major moves, things that are going to affect, people, places, things, and situations that I'm involved with. Right. And the other thing was too, that I also wanted to bring up is if there's a tough decision and I can't decide on my own, is bringing in like a trusted colleague, right? Based upon the topic, you know what I mean? Not everybody you can share everything with. And I found that out the hard way. That's why I mentioned that probably 2 or 3 times now. But trusted friend, a loved one, whatever the case might be. Like if there's just something that's like eating away at you and you can't decide what it is, get an outside perspective on it, right? Don't be afraid to ask somebody their opinion on something, because you're going to either like what they have to say or you're not going to like it, but it will definitely help you decide which way you're going to go, because either if their idea is totally stupid and the one that you already had in the back of your mind, because this is the deal. You're going to do whatever it is that you want to do anyhow. That's just the bottom line. It's never going to be a good idea until we think it's a good idea. Bottom line, and a discussion on that. Right. And then that kind of dovetails into, how do I know I'm making the right decision, or how do I know what I'm working on is the right thing? Right. Because I've worked on things, and I actually came up with these 3 questions this morning, and I'm still unpacking this, but I think it's very important for me to share this with you guys, because um we all struggle with these things, right? But I don't hear very many people talking about this stuff where it's like, yeah, I'm a fucking head case. Sue me. Okay. I think I'm half Looney Tunes at times, but um I'm here, and I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying myself, right? And sharing this stuff, my experiences, right? I'm not going to share something. I'm going to really try not to share something that I don't have experience with, or have an opinion on something that I don't have any experience with, because that just kind of sucks and it's kind of shitty and I can't back it up. But like I said, I want to unpack this. Like, how do I know if I'm working on something? And I think that's a question I think we ask ourselves. Like, it'd be no different than, I guess, if I decided to just start digging a hole in the backyard, right, with no purpose. I got a pickaxe, I got my digging bar, and I got a shovel. I'm just going to start digging a fucking hole, right? A lot of people are going to be like, why is he digging a hole in the backyard? Quite frankly, I can't answer that question. I just start digging. The only thing that I know that it brings me joy. I just, I don't know what the end result is of this, but it's physically, I like what it does to me physically. I'm creating a sweat, and I don't know if I'm going to dig to China. So my point is that it's bringing me joy. I don't know what joy it's going to bring me, but I know today, for instant gratification, because I am an instant gratification kind of guy. I want it here. I want it now. When's it coming? I've been spoiled just like everyone else by Amazon. Okay. I want that shit overnighted today. But maybe that was a bad metaphor. But my point is, too, it might give me, digging this hole might give me instant gratification. But if I thought that through, it's like, okay, now I'm creating a mess in the backyard. Okay. That's going to create more work that I probably don't want to do. It's going to ruin the grass. The grass is going to die. And now I got a hole in my backyard. So I got to ask myself, it's a 2-part question. The thing that I'm working on right now, is it going to bring me joy? And if I don't do this thing, will it bring me joy later, or will it bring me pain? So yes, metaphorically, I'm enjoying, I'm digging it, man. And I'm digging this hole to China. Screw it. I'm going to dig this thing. But I have a moment of clarity, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to like the end result of this. I'm not going to like this. So maybe I should stop. Maybe I should just close this hole up right now. So first part of the question is it bringing me joy? Am I feeling joy from this? And will it give me joy later? The answer to that second part of the question is no. So why am I doing it? Right. And it's almost like getting high, right? I didn't even think about this till right now. It's almost like, yes, that instant gratification. I can drink a beer, I can get high, but the end result, I'm not going to feel good about myself later. I'm either going to, I'm going to have a hangover. It's going to be considered a relapse. I'll probably miss an appointment, because when I start drinking, all bets are off. So why would I pick up the pickaxe? Right? It won't bring me joy later. The other thing is does it bring me fulfillment and purpose? Now, will I feel fulfilled filling this hole back up? I probably will. It will probably give me fulfillment. But if I don't fill the hole up, will it give me fulfillment later? Will it benefit me or anyone else later? If I don't fill it up, it won't. It's going to kill the grass. When it rains, the mud's going to go down the hill. It's going to create a mudslide. It's going to do all these things. So yes, I need to fill this hole back up. And I wish I would have came up with a better metaphor. I don't know. It's a tongue twister. For me, it is anyhow. Um, but so what it is that I'm working on right now, does it make me feel fulfilled? Okay. And I guess the second part to that question is, because I don't want 5 or 6 different questions. It's going to be 3 questions you got to ask yourself. Does it bring me joy? And if I don't do it, will it bring me joy? Okay. It's the first question. Second question does it make me feel fulfilled? It does. But if I don't do it, will it make me feel fulfilled? Question is that probably if I procrastinate, if I prolong it, I probably won't feel fulfilled later. So that means I better do it now. It may not give me fulfillment this second, but I know if I get through it now, I will, because I see the end result, right? It's just like working out, right? I don't see the gratification. I don't feel the gratification today. Shit, I don't even feel it. Over a week, sometimes a month, you start to feel different. You start to look different. People start to realize, like, holy shit, you're starting to look good, whatever. Right. And then I guess the third question we would ask ourselves is, will it have impact? Negative on people or positive on people, right? If I do this thing today, if I continue to keep working on this job, on this task, on this whatever, what impact will it have on myself and on other people? Will it impact people later and instantly, right? 2-part question, positively or negatively, right? So I think if you can think and say these 3 questions to yourself, does it bring me joy now? And will it bring me joy later? Will it make me feel fulfilled today? Or will it make me feel fulfilled later? Will it have a positive impact on people today or a negative impact on people later if I do or don't do something? Right. And I think that has given me personally so much clarity on my decision making, right? Especially when I'm suffering from this decision fatigue, right? It helps me with my mindset. If I can grind through this because I know the end result, I'm going to get paid. It's going to impact other people so they can get paid. And then they can impact other people so they can get paid, or they can provide for people. If you want to look at it in terms of monetarily, right? Or am I going to do some things that people don't even realize where these miracles came from, right? Because I love doing stuff like that where people don't realize, it was because of something that we did that impacted them later, right? But if you look at all 3 of these questions, it all has to do with, it starts with me first and foremost. Personal development is an inside job. Professional development, I don't give a shit. It's an inside job. Right. It's the 6 inch between my ears. It's the things I'm working on behind closed doors. It's the promises that I'm keeping to myself. And it's the promises that I'm breaking to myself that will screw up that psyche, that will screw up that mindset, that will screw up my paradigm, my perception. Man, have I ever had my perception screwed up here lately. But I really wanted to share. I really wanted to, I felt like I really needed to get a lot of that off my chest, and maybe if there's somebody else out there, I don't know who's out there. I see Johnny Stauffer out there. I'm gonna take a drink here real quick. I feel like there's about 12, 13, 14, 15 people out there listening right now. If anybody has any questions or want me to unpack or, unwind something a little more on the topic. What's up, John? Good to see you, buddy. And John's a good example of where I feel like I may have been influencing or impacting him over the past several months, whether he noticed it or not. I feel like, and maybe I'm giving myself entirely way too much credit for having impact over people or whatever, but I'm sure he's noticed. Let's chalk it up to noticed me being in a funk over the past several months where I haven't been very creative. And John and I and Vic, I don't want to leave you out of that circle of creativity either, but John and I, man, usually just jam out on marketing. I love marketing. I love brand. I love bringing new ideas to the table on how to market our brand and bring brand awareness. And I just feel like I've been in a dumpster when it comes to creativity. But John, just so you know, I have a lot of great ideas. I think I shared a couple with you the other day. And and that's what I mean in terms of like affecting John. It's John's job to market and brand our company. And if I'm not bringing ideas, right, wrong, indifferent, bad ideas, whatever, to his attention, then he doesn't know where I'm at. He doesn't know what direction, right? Because I'm the driver here. I'm driving this, right? And that's the important thing. And my colleague that I was speaking with yesterday, we were speaking in terms of our family members, right? And the impact that we have on them, good and bad, because of our moods, because of our behaviors and things, and how we affect them, because misery enjoys company. And it's like, when I'm miserable, I'm not happy until you're miserable. So I'm going to go out of my way to make you miserable. Do I want to live like that today? I absolutely positively do not want to live that way. And there's my old friend, David Bruno. David, we need to get you on the show here sooner rather than later. And also, I want to talk to you about hosting another networking event or something, or at least maybe helping me start, a little networking thing here at TC Backer, which is another thing, I think, get us all out of our shell here a little bit, this winter shell that we've been in, most effectively, here me lately. And again, I see it. I've rubbed off on Vic a little bit too. You know what I mean? And that's not good. It's not good for anybody. And, so if anybody's going through a funk, it's short-term funk, long-term funk, or you just can't put your finger on what the hell is going on, open up, reach out to me anytime through Messenger, through whatever. And, I'm here. I'm here for anybody. Life is entirely too short to be miserable. But I think I ran my mouth long enough. Next week, I want to dive into, and I'm sure I'll circle back to some of these topics next week, but next week, I really want to discuss the high cost of not letting go. So if anybody's got any questions, please in the comments. If you're catching this on the replay, thank you for joining us. But if you catch this on the replay, if you got any questions or a topic that you'd like to hear me discuss, and if you find any value to any of this, and if you know anybody else that might find value in this, please share this with them. And if you know of anybody that might be a good guest to come on the show to talk about some deep shit, by all means, reach out to Vic, myself, John, anybody here at TC Backer. Reach out to us, and we'll see if we can't get you on the show. And again, if you got a topic that you want me to talk about, discuss, please don't hesitate. But until next week, you guys take care of each other and enjoy this great Pennsylvania weather. See you guys next week.